Such a beautiful joy to be together with you all. And we start as always with one of our questions that comes in from our global family who join us from all over the world and aren't able to be with us here on the banks of Mother Ganga physically, but who join us through Facebook, through YouTube, through so many different ways. And so we take their questions as well, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. This is great, would you rather be a worried genius or a joyful simpleton? Well, I'd rather be a joyous genius. There's no reason. There's no reason that stress, anxiety, and despair have to go with intelligence. It's not the smarter you are, the more stressed you have to be, or the more upset you have to be, and that if you're simple, then simple in this case meaning not particularly intelligent, that somehow you're going to be happier. It's that ignorance is bliss idea, but that isn't actually true. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is ignorance. Bliss is in truth. So it's not about accumulating information. It's not about accumulating academic prowess. It's about having more and more truth is where the joy comes. Now, I understand though the question basically, meaning, would you rather be someone who knows it all, but is so depressed by what they know, or would you rather be someone who doesn't know how bad things are, and therefore you could be happy? And again, as I said, I'd rather be a joyous genius. I'd rather know it all and still be able to be happy. The dilemma arises when that which we find out, that which we learn, that which we come to know, depresses us. But it doesn't have to, it shouldn't. Wisdom, truth, learning, these are things that should make us more and more joyous. Not more and more, what did they say? Worried. Not more and more worried. The worried genius. Now, one thing that this means, though, is that you may not want to begin your day by scrolling through a news feed. Okay? Now, that doesn't make you a genius. You could memorize everything on Google News. You're not a genius, you've just memorized what's in the news. A genius is actually someone who has a power of understanding, a power of intelligence that actually in many cases makes them better able to live lives that are full of truth and understanding. But that has nothing to do with the news. Now, what upsets so many of us is that, oh my God, I wake up every day and I scroll my news feed and I see this is happening, that's happening, this is happening. And it worries me. Yeah, that makes sense. Not because you're a genius. Just because you have filled your brain with far too much unnecessary information. And that's a place that we all have to find. How much information do we need? Because you don't want to push it away. Remember, we don't want to be the joyful simpleton, the one who has pushed things away and said, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear. We live in this beautiful world as spiritual beings having human experiences. So it's important on some level to know that which is happening so that we can be actively engaged. For example, it's important to know about what's happening with climate change. It's important to know what's happening with environmental destruction, with human rights abuses. Not every one in detail, not that you have to read them every day. But it's just important to know what's happening in the world because we are called upon, each of us in our own small way, to serve. If we don't know there's climate change, if we don't know there's environmental destruction, why would we plant trees? Why would we save water? Why would we do anything to protect the environment? So coming to know that there's a problem helps us become part of the solution. Coming to know how many children were dying every day from diarrhea due to lack of clean water, lack of sanitation, lack of hygiene, that's what made us start working for water, sanitation, and hygiene. So knowing the problem is something that helps us catalyze ourselves, inspire ourselves to be part of the solution. But it's not something that needs to worry us all day, every day. And that's where we really look at how much we are taking in. How much news is enough news? How much scrolling on a news feed is enough scrolling? And that's where we have to draw the line. Is I find out what I need to know. Maybe there's a few publications you read that you know I'm going to get their daily news. Right? So I get CNN in my inbox. 5-6 things a day. Headlines. That's it. I mean, you could click on them. I usually don't. Just seeing the headlines. It's kind of enough. You know what's going on. Should something be click-worthy, you can. But otherwise, it's just, here we are informed. Because remember, we are members of a global family. And on some level, it's important to know what's happening with other members of our family. But that's not something that should make us worried. It should make us active. It should make us more and more compassionate. It should make us more and more grateful for what we have. So genius, first of all, as I said, has nothing to do with how much you're reading in a news feed. In fact, the geniuses are much more likely, I would imagine, not to be stuck with a news feed. Because they've understood what a waste of time it is. They've understood how it distracts them. They're going to actually be much more able to dedicate their time in meaningful ways. So don't think about intelligence or lack of intelligence in terms of being worried or being happy. The ignorance is bliss is not true. Ignorance is ignorance. If you want to pretend that things in the world are not happening, you can certainly do that. But don't kid yourself that you're then in bliss. You're in denial. You're pushing things away. Fine, that's okay. I'm not the moral police who's going to say you have to know everything that's going on. But don't delude yourselves into thinking that that's actually bliss. Saying, I can't handle knowing what's happening, actually says that you're not strong enough, which you are. It's actually depriving yourself of the ability to recognize how strong you are, that you can know what's happening. And again, you don't have to read 100 articles on it. Simply coming to know, this is happening. Okay. We anchor in, we drop in, all right. How can we be of service? How can we be part of the solution? Or how can we pray for them? How can we hold them in our hearts and our prayers? But pushing life away is not the stuff that bliss is made of. It's the stuff denial is made of. And what you find a lot of times is, as you try to push things away, well, they don't stay away. They keep coming. And then you keep trying to push them away. In the, I'm in too good of a mood to talk to you, or I'm in too good of a mood to find out that this is happening. And when we can't push it away anymore because it keeps coming, that's tragically when people tend to turn to alcohol, to drugs, to other ways to prevent themselves from having to be impacted by the world. And that is not bliss, my friends. Not bliss. So ignorance is ignorance. It isn't bliss. And as far as genius goes, well, we all should certainly strive to be as intelligent as we can, not with the facts that we know. Accumulation of trivia or facts or news is not intelligence. It's a conscious wasting of your time. It's like people who can tell you what 50 other people have posted on Facebook. Right? You wouldn't say, oh my God, you're so smart. You'd say, wow, you've wasted a lot of hours of your day. So in the same way, wasting our time is not intelligent. It's not genius. And it is what causes us to be worried. So let us actually cultivate that intelligence of knowing. I can be in the presence of reality. I can hold an ideal. I hold an ideal for peace, global peace, for environmental protection, for sustainability, for human rights, for love, for ending violence. I can hold that ideal. But that doesn't mean that when climate change is getting worse or trees are being cut down, that I say, I don't want to hear it. I can't hear it, I can't come to know it because it's gonna disturb my bliss. That should be information that just inspires me to do more work, to make the real come closer to the ideal. So we hold the ideal, but we also recognize the real. Because to push away the real in favor of an ideal doesn't serve us. It's certainly not genius. So before taking any of the other questions that have come in from our global family, if anyone here has a question, I would be happy to take it. Yes.
Thank you. I feel a bit silly languaging this, but it's something that's, because I'm sitting with and I haven't found an answer. About 18 months when I started certain practices, the sound sort of has come, And I mean, it's just always there. It's a delightful sound. It's like a, if you're listening to a shell, that sound of like the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you say it, but it's a delightful little thing that just is always there. I mean, even if I'm in a bit busy sort of underground station. And I'm just wondering, I should imagine it's connected to my life force, because when I came out of rough time, it sort of popped up, as it were. And I'm kind of wondering, is it something that's just there, or is it something that I could maybe use creatively in meditation or whatever?
Beautiful. That sound. Well, she says, it sounds like the sound that when you hold a seashell up, the sound of the ocean. You could think of it also, when you listen to it, as that sound of the universe, right? I don't know exactly what it sounds like to you, but if it sounds like the sound in a seashell, well, some people hear the ocean in seashells. Some people hear Om in seashells. It's that sound of the universe. There is a sound in the universe, of the universe rather. In the Hindu tradition, the Vedic tradition, we speak about that sound as Om. So when we chant Om, it's not just that at some point in the past some rishi or sage said, I know, Om. Someone else said, are you sure not in? And then someone else said, maybe oh. And then they had a little vote and they voted on Om. That's not how it happened. It's not just a random sound that they chose. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which one? Om is the sound we meditate on because it is the sound of the universe. There never was a debate. Anyone who has heard the sound of the universe, that's the sound. Now, because it is a vibrational sound and a vibrational energy, it can be spoken about, of course, in different ways. And so not everyone says, yes, it is Om. But the sound is the same when you really listen to it, especially on a vibrational level. So that's what it is. It's the sound of the universe. It's the sound of yourself as you vibrate with the universe. Can it be used creatively? Well, the energy is creative. When we are in alignment with the universe, creative energy flows through us. Each of us is a creator. That's the energy that we have. It may not be something as specific as art or music or dance or fashion. I mean, you may not think of yourself as a creative, but each of us is a creator because the energy of creation flows through us. We create energetically in the world. We create our world. We create worlds with others. We create vibrations of energy around us. We create truth in the world. So, as you connect with that energy of the universe. Yeah, it's creative. I wouldn't say, let me take this sound and create with it, but rather I would say, let me become that seashell through which the sound is flowing. Except rather than a seashell where the animal has left it already, I'm like the seashell with the beautiful creature still alive inside. And as the sound flows through me, what can I now create in this universe as this sound flows through me? Now that I am in alignment with the energy of the universe. Because sound, remember, is just an energy. It's waves. It's just waves in the world. It's how sound works. Light is also waves. It's how all the energy works. So when we get in alignment with that sound, our energy, literally the vibrational energy of us, shifts. And energetically we become in better coherence, you can say, with the vibrations of the universe. So yeah, a lot of creativity is going to happen through that. In so many different ways. Beautiful. Yeah. Are there any other questions that anyone here has? Yes.
It's for one of my friends. I want to know, how does a person forgive someone very close to them for betrayal or infidelity, and somebody is struggling with it and I would like to help them, so I do not know the answer to it.
Yeah. Betrayal. It hurts. And it hurts on so many levels, but especially, as you say, infidelity by a loved one. So in addition to the betrayal, there's a sense of we've had an expectation. Right? We don't necessarily assume that every person we walk down the street passing is going to act in alignment with integrity and love. Right? I mean, if you're driving down the freeway and somebody cuts in front of you, all right, most people tend to get a little bit annoyed, but it's not going to ruin you. It's not going to make you now need therapy and be unable to sleep at night. Because we never really expected that every driver on the freeway was going to treat us with lots of love, lots of respect, lots of caring. We kind of understand, yeah, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and we hope people follow the rules, but when it's a loved one, there's really an expectation of loyalty, of love, of truth, of honesty, of integrity. And when that person betrays you, it hurts a lot. Now, I'm glad that your friend is asking about forgiveness, because of course, it's always up to us what to forgive and what not to, but I'm a very big proponent of always forgiving. That doesn't mean that we permit everything. It doesn't mean that we say everything is okay. It doesn't mean we become a doormat. But it simply means I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to ruin my heart, my mind, my life because of what you did. You acted out of ego, anger, desire, confusion, ignorance. Why should I ruin my life because of your ego, your ignorance, your anger. So I'm a proponent of always forgive. But again, that doesn't mean it's okay. That forgiveness comes with the awareness that I am not the law of karma, dishing out karmic fruit. Forgiving someone does not absolve them of their karmic fruit, nor are we saying they should be absolved. Forgiving someone is not saying to God, you know what, I know they've done this thing, but they shouldn't get any karmic fruit from it. We're not saying that. We're simply saying, I am no longer going to hold this pain and anger because it's killing me and it's keeping me stuck. So we have to forgive, not because it's okay, but because we deserve to be free. Because we deserve to live in peace, in love, in joy, regardless of someone else's ego and ignorance and anger and desires and bad decisions. Now, the decision of I'm going to forgive and stay, or I'm going to forgive and not stay, is of course up to each person individually. And I certainly would not, without knowing all of the details, I would not say which is the right decision. In general, I tend to be someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, understands that we're human beings. Well, we're spiritual beings having human experiences. But in that human experience, we all have confusion, we all have ego, we all have ignorance. We make mistakes. I mean, really, raise your hand if you've never done anything that you wish you hadn't. No one, right? Obviously. Raise your hand if you've done lots of things you wish you hadn't. Right? All of us. So, we make mistakes. As a general rule for me, the first time, you say, okay. Not that it's okay, but I recognize you're human. I recognize you've made a mistake, especially if the person themselves feels horrible about what they've done. If they don't, that's a different story. But if they do, and they've really apologized and really repented and really are doing something to address the ignorance, to address the issue, I would be likely to say, okay, this relationship, my love for you, is strong enough that I am prepared to withstand this, to not only forgive, but to stay and to rebuild trust. Then you start to think about a second time, right? Or a third time. And again, that's individual. I don't know how many times I would stay with someone who was disloyal. But that's an individual decision. What's most important is A, that we forgive, that we're not holding the grudge, because that kills us. B, that we understand that we deserve loyalty and goodness and love. One of the reasons that people tend to stay in situations where there's disloyalty, even where there's abuse, is because on some level we feel like we don't deserve something better. And that is not only deeply untrue, but deeply dangerous. And so I would work with your friend to help him or her fully forgive, fully be free inside, And again, if it's the first time and the partner really repents and, okay, and you decide to be compassionate enough to give them a second chance, okay, beautiful. But if this is a pattern, then I really would work with your friend on why he or she believes that they don't deserve someone who's loyal, that they don't deserve goodness, that they don't deserve that level of appreciation, of reverence, that would prevent someone from hurting them. And that's a very beautiful role that as a friend you can play. Yes. Yes.
So this is a simple question about ego and self-respect when it comes. So it's very confusing what's the difference between both, or how to recognize whether it's the ego or it's a self-respect.
Great. So self-respect is true, ego is false. Self-respect is rooted in a capital S self. The truth of who I am, the depth of who I am, the divinity of who I am, the wholeness, the fullness of who I am. Ego is rooted in my false identities. I'm the smartest one here. Right? I'm the most successful one here. I'm the best one here. False identity. Okay? Or ego's rooted in even just something as simple as, I'm the doctor. Right? You do what I say. Why? Because I'm the doctor. Or I'm the teacher. Or I'm the smart one. Or I'm your boss. False identity. It's a false role. Means you're playing the role beautiful. Wonderful. Be a doctor. Great. Heal people. That's a beautiful gift. Amazing. But when it becomes, I'm the doctor, and that as a source of, it's ego. Self-respect doesn't depend on how much money I make, where I am on any kind of a career ladder or social ladder, popularity ladder. Self-respect doesn't depend on what I accomplished today, how many people know about it. Self-respect is rooted in who I am as a being. And even if I couldn't bear to drag myself out of bed today other than to just go to the bathroom and eat some food, I still respect myself. And we're going to just call that a day of rest. Ego is all about what I've done, who I am, what I have. That false self. So real self-respect is for the real self. Ego is rooted in false self. So if someone's sense of self-respect is rooted in what they've done or who they are, don't you know who I am? Right? Ego. Yeah, I know who you are. You're a soul, like I'm a soul. And actually we're the same soul. So yeah, I know who you are. And every day when I meditate, I know who you are even better. The don't you know who I amness. And when that creates a persona of self-respect. You know, the sort of pumped up chest, like I'm everything. That's ego. Self-respect doesn't have to pump up its chest. Doesn't matter how tall or short, wide or thin, dark or white. It's irrelevant. Because self-respect is rooted in the self. And self-respect is something no one can take away. The ego gets injured. Because when someone says, you're stupid, or this is bad, whatever you did, like not a good project, not a good thing, the ego gets insulted because the ego was rooted in what I'm doing, what I'm accomplishing, what's my role. But self-respect no one can take away from you. Because it isn't rooted in any of those things. And that's where it's so precious. It doesn't vary. It's not based on your moment in the spotlight. Self-respect knows I don't have to be in the spotlight. I don't have to show. Because I am. I just am. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah, just 1 sec, Chris.
So I have a question here. So what would you say when the man in a family, the husband in the family, he gives up on his responsibilities, his duties, and doesn't take care of his kids, his family, and it's a woman who has to take care of it all, you know. And while she's doing her responsibilities, thinking that, yeah, she has to take care of it all, you know, sometimes people around you, and they tend to say that, you know, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to support him by taking care of the family? You should leave him. And this makes the woman more confused. What should she do? I mean, should she just stick on, stay on, or, you know, or leave? Because she's not getting anything in return.
Well, a relationship, the reason we stay in a relationship इसको बंद कर दो, हाँ? The reason we stay in a relationship is not so much about who's doing what. Then it just becomes like a contractual arrangement, which works for, you know, a couple days. You got a little project you've got to do with someone. You say, all right, I'll do this, you do that. We'll meet back up after 3 hours and assess. But for decades, you can't base a relationship and the love of a relationship if what you're looking for is real joy and real connection. It can't just be about a contract of you do this, I'll do that. Yes, of course, we have traditional roles. And you speak about a family with theoretical traditional roles. The man should be supporting the family, the woman is taking care. In this case, it sounds like the man is not supporting the family. Okay. So he's not holding up his end of the role. But that doesn't mean that the woman should leave the relationship, because I would hope that wasn't the basis of the relationship, but that the basis of the relationship was love and connection. If it's not, then we have a whole other problem entirely. Let's take them as 2 possibilities. Possibility 1, there is no real love There is no real relationship. It is just a contract. You do this, I'll do that. And we'll kind of peacefully cohabit. In that case, if the man is not doing his arrangement, the woman certainly could think about leaving. Because clearly there's no relationship anyway, there's no love anyway, it's a contractual arrangement. He's not fulfilling his contract. Okay, I mean, every contract we sign has got all these clauses, right? If the other party doesn't do what they say they're going to do, we've got exit clauses. But marriage is not supposed to be a contract. Marriage is supposed to be a union. And in a union, it's not about 50-50. It's about a merging into oneness. And if you're in a relationship for long enough, inevitably there are fluctuations, there are moments and times and phases where one person seems to be contributing more on a logistic level than the other. And then there are phases where the other one is contributing more. Either way. Or maybe one is contributing a lot more logistically and the other is the beautiful holder of the love in the family. There's no right way. But there should be love. And if there isn't any love, even if the other guy is holding up his end of the contract, I'm still not so sure I would say that's a fantastic place to be. We should try to find, and if it's not there, can we cultivate it? Can we create it? Can we grow love? Because your fulfillment as a wife, in the long run, is not going to be about how much money he brings in or how many dishes he helps with or does he ever grocery shop, or it's going to be about the love you feel with him. And if you don't feel love, then no matter how much money he brings in, yeah, it's never going to be enough. It's not going to matter. And if you do feel love, then whoever's bringing in the money, it's all one. It's all the same thing. It doesn't matter. There is no yours and mine. So that's the key. And certainly conversations can be had about, hey, it would be great if you could fill in the blank, whatever it is that he's not doing. We all have to get held up to a responsibility to contribute in our way into a system, and a family is certainly a system. And it's good for children to learn everyone contributes, even the kids. It's why kids should have chores. Even if there's help in the house, the kids should still have chores. Just so that everybody knows, everybody contributes. We are a family system and everyone is a contributing member. But if your friends are saying, why do you stick around? If they are simply saying because he doesn't hold up his end of the financial bargain or the logistic bargain, but you really love him, then I would find new friends. Or explain to your friends that you really love him. And that there's no reason for them to be pestering you in this way. But if your friends are really good friends and what they're seeing is that there isn't any love, that you are being totally taken advantage of, then it might be worth your while to at least listen to what they have to say and ask yourself why you're prepared to be in a situation that has no love and in which you're doing all the work, and in which there is literally nothing you're getting in return on any level whatsoever. And to ask yourself if you have any alternatives. My favorite alternative would be, can you create love? Like you're already living under the same roof, you've already got a family together. Are there seeds of love that could be watered? A lot of times in families we get so bogged down in the logistics that the love kind of dries up. There was love, but then there came kids and jobs and mortgages and in-laws and life issues, and suddenly it seems to dry up. And that's where it's really important to dedicate time and energy to revitalizing that, to taking some time away. It doesn't have to be days, it could just be hours, but some time. Because love has to be nourished and nurtured and watered. But if there really isn't any love either, and you've tried and it's been years and there are no seeds, you're watering just soil that has no seeds in it, then it really may be worth thinking about what other alternatives you have for your life. Yeah. Beautiful. Are you here tomorrow?
No, it's our last day.
Okay, no problem. Then we'll take it as our last question. Yes, sure.
How do we balance our spiritual journey while living a grihastha ashram, especially protecting ourselves or balancing ourselves, not going into the web of kleshas, especially rag
Yes.
and abhinivesh? It is so difficult
Yes.
to stay detached.
So, in our spiritual journey, whether you're in grihastha ashram or sannyasa ashram, detachment is not the goal. Okay? When we think of detachment, we think of disconnection. Okay? If something is connected, it's attached. When I have disconnected it, I have detached it. So when you talk about being detached, we're speaking about disconnection. That is not a goal of spiritual practice. Now I know we talk about vairagya. Okay? And vairagya gets translated as detachment. I am not a Sanskrit scholar by any means. Nonetheless, I deeply believe that detachment is the wrong translation of vairagya. And I say this to you because if you look at the enlightened masters, really the masters, the embodiments of spiritual awakening, enlightenment, they are not indifferent, apathetic, aloof, disconnected. They are the ones who are so deeply connected. Every enlightened master whose presence I have been in is the most compassionate, connected being. I mean, Pujya Swamiji, our guru, is absolutely the most compassionate, connected being I have ever encountered. And I've been in the presence of other enlightened masters as well. There aren't very many, but I've been in the presence of a few. And they're all so compassionate. Their eyes fill with tears at another's pain. They are the first ones who will give you the clothes right off their back. Not because they don't care about their clothes, but because they care about you. Detachment, I think, is the wrong translation. I think about it as reattachment. So we have attached ourselves to God in such a way that the attachment to the things of the material world automatically lose their pull on us. Our attachments to the ups and downs of life, of relationships, of things, we're so attached to God that automatically those stresses and strains and rag and dvesh, I like this, I don't like this, I want that, I don't want that, they dissipate. Because we are so deeply connected to God. But don't have detachment as your goal. Have connection to God as your goal. It's like if we say point A and point B, or let's say we say Rishikesh and Delhi. So here you are in Rishikesh. Well, there's two ways to get to Delhi from here. One way is you face Delhi and you start walking. The more you walk, the farther Rishikesh is behind you. It's kind of automatic. The other is you try to push away Rishikesh. Get away, get away, get away, get away. The more you push, well, you're getting closer to Delhi. But not because you're walking toward Delhi, because you're trying to push away Rishikesh. Now the energy of that second one, it's a lot more energy. And it's negative energy. It's the energy of pushing. Instead, if you think about, I'll just walk toward Delhi, well, automatically I'm going to get farther from Rishikesh. In the same way, instead of trying to push away your attachment to things in the world, focus on getting connected to God. You're walking toward God. The closer and closer you get to that connection, the farther and farther the pull of the things of this world will have on you. Does that make sense? So that's the way to do this. And in the Grihasthashram, the goal is not, how do I be a married person but push away my marriage so I can be close to God? If you were supposed to be in the sannyasa ashram, you'd be in the sannyasa ashram. If you're in the grihastha ashram, well, be a grihasti. That's your dharma in that ashram. Connect to God. Find God, be with God through those relationships. Marriage yoga, relationship yoga, parenting yoga. It's not let me push away my relationship so I can do yoga. This relationship is your yoga. And that's how you very successfully use this ashram to get closer to God. It's not about, oh, I'm going to put you in Grihastha ashram and for the next 20, 25 years, you're supposed to just push it away. You use that ashram. Don't get stuck. So it's relationship yoga, not relationship quicksand. Right? So it's all about union. Union with each other, yes, but union of yourself ultimately with the divine through this union. So you use it. Can you see the divine in your family members? Can every interaction with your family members be yoga, be rooted in union? Then it becomes really an ashram rather than just, the Grihasti jail. Right? It's not called Grihast jail, it's called Grihast ashram. It should be an ashram. Doesn't mean there aren't struggles. We live in an ashram, there are struggles. But it means that you are focused ultimately amidst the struggle, through the struggle, via the struggle. It's important. Via the struggle. The struggle is the medium through which you get closer to God. For you, it's relationship. In ashrams, it's seva. It's surrender. It's discipline. Each ashram has different pathways through which we get closer to the divine. But use it. Yes. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening and night. And a beautiful morning, day for our beloved family all over the world. And looking so forward to being with you all again tomorrow. So much love to you.